Hello, you're watching Talking with Michael. I am Michael 7 Michael, and we've got with us today Liana Gabrielle. Yes, the one and only model, dominatrix, and blogger. This is part 2. And where did we leave off? We're talking about the 1%?
Yes, the clientele.
It's like flipped.
The clientele, yes. Yeah. Yes.
So most of your clientele are?
Old, white, and wealthy. They work powerful positions. Mm-hmm. They're older. I would say young for us would be in their 40s.
Wow.
Let's be realistic. That's going to be a young client for us.
But you know what? Then, yeah, that would make sense because who could really, it sounds really bad, but who could afford you?
It's also, I don't mean to offend men. I know, as the body ages, things change for men and women. Respectfully, that's just good old-fashioned biology.
Right.
But you do have a lot of these clients that, these men, that they're older, and unfortunately their health is not in a good enough place. Okay. So the doctor will not let them be on medications to keep certain body parts working the same way.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, being that they're unable to have intimate times with women, the dominatrix thing is sometimes as close as they're gonna get.
Wow.
They're not gonna call an escort or a prostitute. They're not gonna call that
because
girl.
they don't want
They can't
that.
do anything with her.
Wow.
They can't do anything with her. They're going to ask her to sit down and maybe talk or maybe kiss and things like that.
Wow.
But they can't. The whole point of the service is for and they can't do that. So they look for other things, whether sometimes it is those very old men in the strip club. Okay. And that's their thing.
Okay.
Godspeed. We had a couple of those. They're very good tippers. And then you get the ones who want to do other things like the dominatrix and the other things. That's as close as they're going to get because medically they're not able to be intimate.
Wow.
So sometimes it is something a bit more simple like that.
Now, because of that, does race play a factor?
Oh, like you would not believe.
It does. And I'm talking about the good, bad, and the ugly. Because
I've had good, bad, and ugly.
Okay.
Yes. I'm Hispanic.
Okay. Really?
I know, right? Like, you couldn't have guessed. I'm Hispanic. I speak perfect English. English is my first language. Both my parents speak perfect English with no accent. Okay. I'm very well spoken. I'm very well presented. I don't expect to be given disrespect when it comes to my cultural background and my ethnicity. I'm a very respectful, educated human. That's what I give out. I don't expect for people to look at me and say, oh, well, you look like you're so-and-so, so this, that, and the third. You don't expect it, but you get it all the time. There's also the fetish. There's also yellow fever, which is when people fetishize the Asian community. You do get there'll be
so these are not, and again, let's say some because you don't want to put everybody underneath the
no
thing.
Absolutely,
but so there will be sometimes men that would never date this person. They won't bring them home.
They will all on her. All on her.
Make it rain
1,000 times over.
Wow.
The most racist men can be the highest paying.
Interesting.
Racism has absolutely nothing to do with where they will stick it. Pardon my French.
Well, I mean,
that is literally.
We won't go there, but I mean, just a little bit because I feel I have to.
They can hate the entire community. They can hate the culture, the music. They can hate everything.
We've seen that for hundreds of years.
They will still.
Wow.
And people love to say times change, and but history does repeat itself if you don't fix the core issues. And we see a lot of that. You see clients that don't get their way, quote unquote, and then they resort to a racial slur. Okay. That I've seen that in strip clubs many times. Okay. Many times.
And their way would mean they want to do something more.
Correct. Something that's not on the table.
Gotcha.
Something that either the dancer is not offering or the club in itself that no one is going to be offering.
Wow.
So,
have you had a racist moment where you're like, you know what, you need to go?
I had a racist moment that I took the money and I left.
What happened?
And it was in a 5-star hotel. It was in the Waldorf Astoria, and I was just like,
okay.
I'm from the South Bronx. We're not doing that.
Wow.
I'm Spanish, and I think by the looks of me, it's pretty damn clear that I'm Spanish, but apparently not to everyone.
Well, a lot of us people of color come in many shades. You can't assume these days.
I'm like, I think I look like I got the Puerto Rican flag right here, but not to everyone.
Depending on what you're wearing, you could pass for a couple different things.
Thank you.
So,
I was wearing my hair straight, and it was, to about around my shoulders, we'll say.
Right.
Waldorf Astoria, beautiful 5-star establishment. Right. The Waldorf Astoria is also more of a landmark. Every president in United States history has stayed there. So I was very excited when my phone rang
I got to tap dance there.
Did you? Oh my God, what an honor. I love that place.
I love that place.
I love it. Their bar, they used to have a harp player. Are you kidding me? When I really wanted to feel classy, that was the bar to go to. I was very excited when my phone rang and I was doing the dominatrix thing online, and the phone rang and it was a client in the Waldorf, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got a client in the Waldorf. I was so excited. I would always kind of Google the area code of their number just to kind of have an idea of what I was dealing with. I would talk to them on the phone, but to have an idea. And the guy was from Alabama. And I was like, you know what? And this was before Trump was even running.
Why do I feel this is an N-word moment?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
This was before Trump was even thinking of running. In all fairness, this was before all that happened.
Right.
We did experience a societal shift when he came, but this was before that.
Okay.
I'm thinking it's a 5-star hotel. How ignorant can this person be? This is a 5-star hotel.
Right.
And he explains to me he was here on business and that he comes to New York all the time. So I'm like, okay, you're in New York all the time for business. You must be used to dealing with diversity. That was my presumption. He did not even let me in the hotel room. He literally opened the door, and I was in the hallway, and there's, it was still relatively early, maybe like 7, 8 p.m. So you do have people coming out of elevators, families and the such. It's a hotel. Opens the door, and he looks at me, and he just stares. And I say, hi, good evening, how are you? And he goes, you're beautiful, but you didn't say on the phone that you were half nigger.
Wow.
And I was flabbergasted, taken aback. My father is much more dark complexion. My mother's very fair. My complexion is in the middle. I never in all my years thought I would ever be dealing with that word being thrown at me. My mother did speak to me about how when she was in college, the word spick, and how kids would fight. Like it was a fighting thing. My mom was like, no, I fought over that. Like that's major disrespect. Like, if anything, I thought I'd experience the S word. Right. Not the N word.
Interesting.
So to have that, it was just, I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how to respond to him. As Hispanics, I would say we're much more nationalists. We're very curious to know about the country that someone comes from.
Okay.
Like we always want to know where you're from, the country you're from, the island you're from. We don't necessarily discuss race very much. We do discuss countries and politics, and hands down.
Well, your country has a rainbow, and you're all as one, so it kind of... I
never in my wildest dreams thought I would ever have to deal with it, And then he smiles, his biggest smile, and he goes, oh, come in.
Wow.
And it's like... I had no idea. I was very frozen. I didn't know how to, and I'm a very emotional person. I'm super emotional.
Okay.
But I had no emotion. It was like he turned me cold. In that moment, all I felt was like cold and numb, and it was a very rude awakening of how things are in this world at this moment.
Did you leave?
The routine is always, please leave your money out. I'm going to go freshen up, or you can go freshen up. The money is always taken in advance. I literally just took it and walked right out the door. And he said, where are you going? And I said, home. I had, and then he actually was like walking behind me. I was walking to the elevator and he was walking behind me. And he's like, where are you going? And, but I paid and all this other stuff. And I was like, Hispanic, sir. Hispanic. When you see people like this, Hispanic. And I just left.
Or ask.
Or ask.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had just no idea how to handle it, what to say to him. I had no idea how to go
Wait
about
a minute.
this.
How safe are you doing this?
You go by...
Because he could have literally just knocked you behind your head.
No, of course. I've heard horror stories, and I had one experience that was pretty bad, but the rest of them have been pretty good. I think a large part of it is intuition and just that gut feeling. Unfortunately, with the prevalence of drugs, it's not so easy. Let me be honest with you. Back in the day, like I was born in 92, but in the 80s, like cocaine was very all over the club scene, probably more than it was now. Back then, it was kind of a bit easier to tell if someone was very inebriated. The eyes would show with cocaine and, those indications. In 2018, when people are abusing all these prescription medications and alcohol, now you're just on cocktails.
Wow.
Now they're just on cocktails. They could be doing cocaine and having drinks with their friends, but they could also be on prescription sleeping medication and, all sorts of health issues, blood thinners and all these sorts of things.
Right.
So it's what's scariest for me is when I think about girls that are like, I need the money, I'm just going to try to get through the appointment. But God forbid that man has a drug overdose or something of the nature, then you are in a whole slew of mud and you just wanted to get paid.
Wow.
So I would say I'm more concerned for their safety more so than my own.
Wow. That's interesting.
I mean, it's a lot of it for me. I think is intuition. If someone gives me a bad vibe, or absolutely the service of dominatrix, they have to be explicitly clear. They have to understand that they're paying for and they are requesting dominatrix and nothing else. They have to understand it's for you to be physically and or emotionally abused. This is not for your sexual pleasure. This is not for a happy end. This is nothing like that. This is for physical and or verbal abuse.
Wow.
So once they understand
I'm laughing because that reminds me, there's a restaurant where people go to be insulted. Did you know that?
I could have been a waitress a long time ago.
See?
What you mean?
Yeah.
I'm from the Bronx. We could read. Wait, I'll be reading everyone to filth in that place.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Tell all the hood girls. Oh my goodness.
You mean there's a place for me?
You mean there's a place where we fit?
Yes.
All day. Just cut ass all day. Oh my God.
So let's move into your business.
Yes.
Because you boom, 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 elevate. Now it's time to build a brand.
Yes, I was indie, just posting online for 3 years before the passing of Sesta and Foster.
Okay.
So I was doing very well. I had girls working underneath me. Yes, Sesta and Foster was passed under the guise of preventing sex trafficking.
Okay.
But research, not just in the United States, in Canada, Australia, Europe as well, all data gives the same conclusion. When you have the internet, and when you think of these horrible people, these bad people, these people that are committing the sex trafficking and kidnapping innocent people, when you give them the same space online as you do the people that do things the right way, you're able to find them so much easier. Everything, our phones, our tablets, our computers, everything has an IP address.
Right.
So when you post online, even if you're an anonymous person, the government, there's always an ISP address that you can be traced, your address and things like that. Also websites are registered domains. There's addresses on file for everything. So when you no longer have that marketplace, the internet, how can you find these bad guys? When you don't have the internet and when you don't have an IP address to tie them to, how can you go in and bang the door down and save the innocent victims if you don't have that information?
Well, a lot of the people creating these loopholes are the ones that don't want to be found. they're the ones making money.
It's
one
very,
way or another.
It's very disheartening because local and federal law enforcement all say that when you do let them post online, the ISP addresses are right there.
IP.
The IP addresses are right there. They go straight to that address, or they do the sting operation and they lure to knock up the charges
catfish.
and leave them in there
Right.
longer. Now, without that, it's like, good luck. Good luck. There is an app out there that I do encourage people to download. I'm not sure the name of it. We will Google it. There is an app that encourages people who travel a lot to take pictures of the inside of their hotel rooms.
Interesting.
Because for actual victims of sex trafficking, it's typically just a picture of them sitting in an empty hotel room. So that is the way that's one way that they're able to kind of track them down without the IP address. But when you have that address, it makes it so much easier for them to be found.
Now, before doing this show, we spoke, and I was, you were saying in Brownsville is a high amount of sex trafficking?
Actually, the highest amount of sex trafficking actually goes on in Queens, in the borough of Queens. Very unfortunate. It's just without us being able to be online, we have no way to catch these people that are actual victims, and we have no way of finding these victims. There was the whole Where Are Girls movement.
Wow.
Most of the girls that are trafficked in this country do tend to be girls of color. Wow. So like in DC, I believe it was the 12 girls that were missing. These things do intersect very much so. When people are like, oh, the sex workers, and what you don't understand is that it's sex trafficking. It's bigger than the sex than the sex industry. They passed SESTA and FOSTA under the guise of, we're just gonna cut it all. They can't advertise at all, and it's just gonna go away, and they're gonna run out of money, and they're not gonna be able to make their businesses work, and the girls are gonna come back. All the victims are gonna come out of hiding. No. That's literally how they painted SESTA FOSTA. We're gonna cut off their accessibility to be able to post on the internet. They're not gonna make money doing their pimping or whatever they're doing, and they're gonna have to release the girls. That's not how this works. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of these girls do end up dead.
Wow.
So it's a huge problem especially when you think of net neutrality, and the trend right now seems to be censorship.
Right.
It's not a good indication when a tyrant government is trying to silence the minorities. It's not a good indication of how things are going to go for the masses. That's currently what we're experiencing. They're going to silence the people whose voices matter the least. Your sex workers, your criminals, they're going to try to make us quiet first.
Wow.
Then you have net neutrality and everything else that's following. SESTA and FOSTA passed even before net neutrality and the threat of censorship and throttling. This was even before that. And everyone was talking about Backpage. Backpage was the tip of the iceberg. Backpage was only one of 344 websites that were shut down when that passed. So it's immensely difficult now, not just for us to find clients and for clients to find us, but also for law enforcement to get the bad guys. Now they have no idea. They have no leads. They don't have these illegal ads floating around on the internet that they can chase anymore. So you have much more cases that are going unsolved. You have much more victims that are going to go missing, unfortunately, without any voices and probably without any answers until the next presidential administration. No one's going to touch this. They've been fighting this whole thing, especially with Backpage being shut down. There have been lawsuits going back into the 90s about them trying to shut that one down. It was just, they used it. They wrote all that they used Backpage and the previous lawsuits in the 90s to really spearhead the propaganda behind SESTA FOSTA.
You're so passionate. You're so educated. If someone was to say, why are you doing what you're doing when you could be out there leading the march and making change?
I had to pay for school. I really did. I always just wanted to finish school, and that's just it. I always was just trying to chase it, and unfortunately, a lot of it is because of the way that the Board of Ed is set up in our country and how the education system works. You see inspirational stories on social media about kids battling cancer.
Right.
Cancer. And they still go on to graduate high school and college. And everyone is like, wow, what an inspirational person. And I'm sitting there with tears in my eyes staring at my phone like, you still had to go to school while you were dealing with this. That's how this country works. It's wow, look at how inspirational this person is. Not wow, what's wrong with our healthcare system and our education system that this person is in that situation.
Meaning that they couldn't take a break from what
Correct.
They were doing because
then what happened to me would have happened to them. They would have lost all their federal funding, all their aid. To go back to PACE, I had to pay off my federal Pell Grant, which was about $5,000 to $10,000. My federal Stafford loan, which was $5,000. That was just to go back on top of the tuition I had to pay. So that's really the system we work in. I had to take medical leave. I get ovarian cysts, like a lot of women do. I bled for a month straight, and it was heavy to the point that I could not ride the subway to school without having to go back home to shower and get new clothes.
Wow.
I physically was unable to attend classes, so I had to go for the medical leave, and that's how everything hit the fan. That's how I lost everything. But that's how you have these stories of the kids going through these serious illnesses, lupus and things like that, and still having to put themselves through school. And I feel bad, to be honest with you. I feel bad for the parents. I feel very bad for the parents. Could you imagine having an ill child and having to try to motivate them to still go to school through chemo and through radiation and everything else that they're having to endure? It's horrific. It's horrific in this country that's how things work for us. That was what led me into dancing and the whole world of the sex industry, because I had to pay for school.
Now, I want to make a transition because you created a website to build your brand.
Yes.
And also keep elevating your business.
Yes. And to try to elevate people's consciousness.
Right. And that was the interesting part too.
Yes.
So let's go through the different parts of the site.
Yes, sir.
Now, your letters, what is that about?
Yes, Luna's letters. Since I was a kid, I've always been obsessed with the moon. And as I got older and I learned about my family's culture and about Santeria and our African spirituality systems, the moon is huge. And the moon is connected to the deity Mama Yemaya. Yemaya, the mother of all the oceans and all the large bodies of water.
And then you have
my artist
mental
name.
Health?
Yes, Luna is Honey Luna. My writing name, my artist name, my pen name, if you will, is Honey Luna. My earrings today say honey, so that would be the Luna's letters. My poetry.
Okay.
And the Mental Health Monday is very, very big. I would say when it comes to our urban communities and when it comes to the community of people of color, we tend to be very touch and go when it comes to mental illness at best. And then you have people who just completely, don't believe in it, we don't believe in that, we don't do that.
I like the fact that you have self-value and self-worth, which is the first part of the video we touched on. I was asking about any advice in women or men getting involved. Your self-worth, your self-value.
Yes.
You really have to get that in check.
You have to set your boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you get into that industry, you have to know what you're willing to stand for and what you're not willing to deal with. And, also friends. Do you want to make friends when you work in those places, or do you just want to be a lone eagle and be in and out?
So you have a lot of different parts of the site. What's the point of your site? If you had to break it down.
I wanted to elevate people's consciousness. I'm an empath. So
Okay.
I very much feel everybody's feelings, feel everybody's vibes. We empaths walk around with a lot of weight. Yes.
Okay.
We walk around with a lot of weight. And my blogging, my website was a way to kind of unload everything and try to get other people to care. I think Aquariuses are very much humanitarians, and we care very much about overall societies and how things are functioning in the big picture. I wanted to bring that to people on a regular, everyday basis. It's nice to have Instagram and to be able to post pictures, but I wanted people to read at least a little bit about what I was talking about with the captions, and then if they like to read more, they can check out the website.
Gotcha.
With Mental Health Monday, I really wanted to bring awareness to the communities about the struggles that we're going through. Not everybody is at the point that they're open to getting mental health help in terms of like a counselor or going to a shrink. There's so many people that are just not even close. And I think that just opening up the discussion, having the blog posts, just getting people to at least think.
There's so many young ladies that I've met in the some form or fashion of the sex industry that say most of what they do, believe it or not, or a third of what they do is social work.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you agree with that?
1,000%.
And why is that so? Explain that.
It can be, as a provider, it can be therapeutic for us, especially in my line of work in the dominatrix, the physical and the verbal abuse. You get out a lot of frustrations. You know, someone is paying you to flog them, to spank them, you get a lot of aggression out. So it can be therapeutic for the provider.
Oh, as well as, because I was coming from the angle of the, a lot of times they say men just want to talk. They want someone they could literally say any and anything, and they won't feel judged.
That's very true. But in this business, you don't know what they're gonna want to talk to you about. It can be the weather. It can be mommy issues. It can be daddy left. It can be it can be I'm having health issues, and intimate times are no longer the same for me. And it could be relationship woes. It could be someone passed and they're lonely. It can be so many things.
I'm allergic to raisins. You ever heard that one? No.
I've heard I'm allergic to tipping. That was the worst one.
That
was the worst one.
Yeah.
Hated that dude. He was a regular. Hated that dude.
And he didn't tip.
No, he was horrible. But it can be therapeutic for them, especially when it's older men that have been through very serious traumatic events, the molestations in the Catholic Church, things of that nature. That does trickle down to us. We do get clients who want to role play for the hear me out here. They want to role play for the psychological purpose of going through that same abusive scenario, but having it turn out in a way that they controlled and that they predicted and that they plotted. Does that make sense? So it's like down to tell me XYZ. They say what they want to hear. They tell us. Tell me this, tell me that, tell me I'll never be a real man, tell me I'm not, tell me I'll never be man enough for you, tell me I don't make enough money for you, tell me that my manhood will never please you. The things that some of these men want to hear really does make you think. Tell me that I'm gonna be in detention for the whole month if I tell my parents. Like the things that I have heard.
How do you deal with that spiritually?
A lot of marijuana and a lot of sage. Meditation does not come easy to me.
Okay.
But the more I elevate spiritually and the more that I try to connect to my ancestors, the more I realize the value of meditation and how freeing it is when it comes to those heavy things and that kind of baggage. Stuff like that, that's very intimate. That's very private, especially for men and, their pride and their egos when they go through something that traumatic. I can bet almost all my money that guys that have been through those very traumatic things that they share with us, they want to do the role play with us. I can bet almost everything I own that I'm the only person that they've talked to about that. And that they've, it's not like when they date every chick that they get in bed, they're like, oh, tell me, No, they can't do that. The way that their pride, the way that the heterosexual man's pride and ego is set up, they would never. It would probably take them a midlife crisis just to get them to open up to a licensed professional like a mental health counselor about it, let alone to a woman that they were interested in.
We're running out of time. Give us... What's the takeaway from your experience, if you were to say in like a one line or something that you would want people to walk away from your life experience within this world? What would it be?
Be open. Not everything is what is the surface definition.
Interesting.
Whether it's dancing, dominatrix, fetish work, nothing is the overall. In strip clubs, you get guys that come in crying because their wife died and they're lonely. You have that happen as well. A lot of men that are widowed, those are usually the ones that are like that other guys make fun of, like, oh, that guy in the corner, he's always here, that old man. A lot of the time, that old man just lost his wife. And they have nowhere else to hang out and nothing else to do. So
a lot of the sex work or sex industry has nothing to do with sex.
A lot of it doesn't, no. But sex sells.
Sex sells.
But success.
What's your website? How could people support and check out what you do?
Definitely. LianaGabrielleX3.com.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Let's just put your name up there so people can get the spelling. Thank you so much. You're watching Talking with Michael. You're a part of it, and you're watching Talking with Michael. Thank you so much for checking us out and to be a part of the journey. And let me change this because I am not Liana. This is who I am. Thank you. You're watching Talking with Michael. And keep marching forward, keep loving, and be the light. Thank you.